Hello viewers, welcome to Big Man Business YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the top import and export commodities of Denmark. Denmark, a Nordic country southwest of Sweden, imported a total of $97.6 billion in 2020. This represents a 15.6% increase from 2016 and a 0.4% increase from 2019 to 2020. The Danish krone has appreciated by 2.8% against the US dollar since 2016, according to the average exchange rate for 2020, and by 1.9% from 2019 to 2020. When converted from Danish krones, Denmark's imports are relatively less expensive due to the stronger local currency. From a continental viewpoint, other European nations accounted for 80.7% of Denmark's total imports by value in 2020. 14.1% of Denmark's imports came from Asian trading partners. North America, 3.5%, Latin America, 0.9%, omitting Mexico but including the Caribbean, Africa, 0.5%, and Oceania, 0.3%, were the regions with the smallest percentages, topped by the Marshall Islands and Australia. With a population of 5.8 million people, Denmark's total imported of $97.6 billion in 2021, which equates to around $16,800 in annual product demand for each individual in the European Union member state. If you're new to the Big Man Business YouTube channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive updates on new business expert videos. For more international business news and updates, please visit www.bigmanbusiness.com. Denmark's top imports. The following product groupings account for the majority of Denmark's import purchases in 2020. The percentage share of each product category in terms of total imports into Denmark is also given. $13.1 billion on machinery, including computers accounting for 13.5% of total imports. $10.2 billion in electrical machinery and equipment accounting for 10.4%. $8.2 billion in vehicles account for 8.4%. $5.4 billion in pharmaceuticals account for 5.5%. $4.5 billion in mineral fuels, including oil, accounts for 4.6%. $3.9 billion in plastics and plastic goods account for 4%. $3 billion in optical, technical, and medical equipment account for 3.1%. $2.9 billion in fish account for 3%. $2.8 billion in iron and steel articles accounts for 2.9%. $2.7 billion on furniture, bedding, lighting, signage, and prefabricated buildings accounts for 2.8%. Denmark's top 10 imports accounted for less than 3/5 of the total value of its product purchases from other nations, which stands at 58.1%. Between 2019 and 2020, the cost of fish increased the most among Denmark's top 10 import categories, rising 31.7%. Pharmaceuticals, which grew by 20.5%, were another strong performer. Mineral fuels, including oil, was down by -32.4%, and cars were the two main categories that saw year-over-year declines, down by -2.5%. Denmark's top exports. Denmark, which is south of fellow Scandinavian nations Sweden and Norway and shares a southern border with Germany, exported $108.3 billion worth of goods around the world in 2020. This figure represents a 14.3% growth from 2016, but a -1.6% decrease from 2019 to 2020. The Danish krone has appreciated by 2.8% against the US dollar since 2016, according to the average exchange rate for 2020, and by 1.9% from 2019 to 2020. Exports paid for in weaker US dollars are relatively more expensive for overseas customers due to Denmark's stronger local currency. According to the most recent available country-specific data, importers in Germany had 15.7% of the global total, Sweden got 11.5%, Norway with 6.9%, the United Kingdom got 6.5%, the Netherlands with 5.7%, the United States with 5.6%, China with 4.1%, Poland with 3.6%, France with 3.5%, Italy with 2.5%, Finland with 2.1%, and Spain purchased over two-thirds, which is 69.6% of Danish exports. From a continental standpoint, 75.1% of Denmark's exports were supplied to European countries, while 14.3% were sold to Asian buyers. Another 6.7% of Denmark's exports went to North America. Latin America, excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean, got 1.32%, Africa got 1.28%, and Oceania, led by Australia, received smaller percentages of 1.24%. Given Denmark's population of 5.8 million people, the country's total exports of $108.3 billion in 2021 equates to nearly $18,700 per citizen. In terms of dollar value, the following export product groups will account for the majority of Danish global shipments in 2021. The percentage share of each export category in terms of total Danish exports is also indicated. Pharmaceuticals are worth $19.2 billion, with the United States having 17.7% of total exports. $14.4 billion on machinery, including computers, at 13.3%. $8.7 billion in electrical machinery and equipment account for 8%. $4.2 billion in optical, technical, and medical equipment account for 3.8%. $4.1 billion in meat account for 3.8%. $3.5 billion in fish account for 3.3%. $3.2 billion on furniture, bedding, lighting, signage, and prefabricated buildings account for 2.9%. Mineral fuels, which include oil, are worth $3.1 billion, which accounts for 2.9%. $3.1 billion in vehicles valued at 2.9%. $2.7 billion in plastics and plastic goods valued at 2.5%. The top 10 exports from Denmark accounted for 61.2% of the total value of its global shipments. Fish was the fastest growing export category among the top 10, increasing by 21.8% from 2019 to 2020. Pharmaceuticals came ranked second for increased export sales, with a 9.9% increase. Denmark's meat shipments grew at the third fastest rate, increasing by 8.4%. Mineral fuels, including oil, were the biggest loser among Denmark's top 10 export categories, with a -36.7% reduction year-over-year. Denmark's top trading partners. Denmark is a Scandinavian country in Northern Europe that is bordered to the south by Europe's main economic power, Germany, and is located south of neighboring Nordic countries Sweden and Norway. In 2020, Denmark exported $108.3 billion worth of goods around the world. This figure represents a 14.3% growth from 2016, but a -1.6% decrease from 2019 to 2020. According to a continental perspective, 75.1% of Denmark's exports were supplied to European countries, while 14.3% were sold to Asian buyers. Another 6.7% of Denmark's exports went to North America. Latin America, excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean, got 1.32%, Africa got 1.28%, and Oceania, led by Australia, received smaller percentages of 1.24%. Here is a list of 15 of Denmark's most important trading partners, the countries that imported the most Danish shipments in terms of dollar value in 2020. The percentage of total Danish exports for each import nation is also indicated. Germany, $16.9 billion account for 15.6% of total Danish exports. $11.3 billion in Sweden account for 10.5%. $7.6 billion in the Netherlands account for 7.1%. Norway is worth $7.1 billion accounting for 6.6%. $6.1 billion from the United Kingdom account for 5.7%. $5.9 billion in the United States account for 5.5%. $5.3 billion in China account for 4.9%. $4.5 billion for Poland account for 4.2%. $4 billion in France account for 3.7%. $2.6 billion in Italy account for 2.4%. Finland is worth $2.3 billion with 2.1%. Belgium has a $2.1 billion budget accounting for 1.9%. $2 billion for Spain accounts for 1.9%. $1.6 billion in Japan accounts for 1.5%. $1.1 billion in Switzerland accounts for 1%. In 2020, the previously mentioned 15 trading partners will account for nearly three-quarters or 74.4% of Danish exports. China led all top importers with a 20.5% increase in purchases from Denmark from 2018 to 2019. Turkey was the second fastest growing importer from Denmark, growing 17.2%, followed by the Netherlands with 14.7%, Poland with 12.2%, and Belgium with 12.2%, up by 10.3%. The United Kingdom came down by -8.8%, and Germany was the biggest losers year-over-year, down by -7%. Thanks for watching this video. We are open to suggestions. Kindly drop your comments in the comment box and don't forget to subscribe to the Big Man Business YouTube channel. See you in the next video.